Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas, and outlined our concern with the Biden administration repealing migrant protection protocols. Law enforcement officials and leaders in border communities are concerned that repealing these protocols have directly resulted in a significant influx of unvetted individuals into the United States from Central America. We're already seeing those concerns become a reality, and we know it's going to get dramatically worse before it gets better. Secretary Mayorkas announced earlier this week that we're on pace to reach the highest number of apprehensions at the border in the last 20 years. Yet where has the Secretary been? This is where the action is, not Washington, D.C. It's clear that this administration is anti-wall and AWOL, absent without leave. They have been absent from the field, and their bad policies and lack of leadership have resulted in this crisis. I've been governor under 3 presidents, and this is by far the worst situation we've seen. Washington has never been more out of touch, and it starts at the top. Right now, Customs and Border Protection has over 13,000 migrant children in custody, the highest number in the history of the agency. This isn't just a border security problem, which makes it a national security problem. It's also a humanitarian problem. Here in Arizona, we're doing our part to keep our borders safe and secure. In 2015, we established the Border Strike Force, which has seized drugs and firearms and stopped criminals. But we need more leadership and partnership from the federal government to keep our borders safe. The Biden administration's immigration policy decisions directly impact the state of Arizona, and we're left to pick up the pieces. Our number one priority is keeping Arizonans safe, and we want to keep these migrants safe as well. We need more commitment from Washington to address these needs. There is a perception that our borders are open, asylum policies have changed, and an amnesty bill is in the works. The Biden administration can and should correct this perception and work to deter individuals from making this dangerous journey and sending their children to do so. The administration at all levels should state clearly that our borders are not open and the amnesty law has not changed, and that immigrants seeking a better life or more economic opportunity should not be attempting to utilize the asylum process. Otherwise, the flow of unvetted migrants into our state will continue to grow. We want to partner with the federal government to improve our immigration system, but so far, I'm not encouraged. Mexico President López Obrador has called President Biden the migrant president. Secretary Mayorkas has been nowhere to be found. What they're doing is wholly inadequate. I want to now hand it over to my friend, who we're honored to have here today, and we know what he finds on our border he will take back to Washington, D.C. for action steps. Senator Rick Scott.
Well, first I want to thank Governor Ducey for the opportunity to be here. We had the opportunity to serve as governors at the same time, and Governor Ducey did an outstanding job, has done an outstanding job as governor of Arizona, and really cares about the people here. I also want to thank our Border Patrol agents. I got a briefing yesterday by Aaron Marine, and we got the briefing today. They're absolutely committed to keeping Americans safe. And my heart goes out to them because they need the resources to be able to do that. You have to be furious as an American citizen to watch what Joe Biden has done. This is a crisis that is man-made by one man, Joe Biden. I come from an immigration state. We like immigration, legal immigration. And what Joe Biden has done has made it very difficult for us to do any immigration reform in this country. Because all we're talking about is a crisis on the border, which is a crisis. Look at the numbers. As Governor Ducey said, almost 14,000 children in custody. 14,000 children in custody. 100,000 people apprehended last month, a 28% increase from February. 9,500 unaccompanied minors apprehended in the month of February. You can't imagine this stuff going on. And it's all caused by Joe Biden. Joe Biden needs to get down here to the border and look at exactly what he's done and do everything he can to secure this border. His actions are putting people at risk. They're putting American citizens at risk. He's putting Border Patrol agents at risk. And he's putting children that are coming across this border when they shouldn't be coming across this border at risk. So Joe Biden, get down to the border, look at what you've done, and clearly change what you've done. Quiero agradecer al Gobernador Doug Ducey por recibirme hoy aquí y a nuestros valientes oficiales de CDP y ICE por su gran trabajo para mantener a los americanos seguros. Es claro, hay una crisis en la frontera gracias a las políticas de Joe Biden y su plan de amnistía por los americanos y esto es inaceptable y imprudente y es peligroso. Nos encanta inmigración, pero tiene que ser legal. Debemos asegurar la frontera. Es un placer estar aquí. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Senator. I'm very grateful for your friendship and your leadership on this critical issue. And while it's clear that there's still more work to be done, Arizona's here and ready to help. I'm hopeful we can improve the situation at the border for the safety of Arizonans and Americans, for the safety of these migrants, and for the safety of our country. And with that, we'll take questions. CJ?
Governor, where were you since April? These numbers of the crossings have been exponentially increasing since April of last year. How come you weren't down here demanding change with the prior administration? Because you saw the increases then.
This is at crisis levels today. We're at 300% increase in illegal apprehensions. We've never had more children in the custody of the agency in the history of the agency. And it's also the incentives that have put in place for people to take this dangerous journey. It's time for the federal government to be clear that our borders are not open.
Governor, why shouldn't we see, you've been clear, as you point out, you've already sent letters to Mr. Mayorkas, the administration. Why shouldn't we see this as just a Republican photo op, bringing us down to the border so you can look strong standing in front of the fence, something you could have done in your office, something you already talked about?
First, why don't you just follow the numbers that we have shared with you with the 13,000 children that are in custody right now, the flow of illegal migration that's happening from the border, and the fact that President Lopez Obrador has referred to President Biden as the migrant president. And officials share with us that the administration is seen as the marketing arm of the cartels to traffic drugs and human trafficking along with child sex trafficking. Just follow what's been interdicted. We're at crisis levels. We need action.
But you still haven't answered the question. Why isn't this just a photo op? Why don't we,
Because we come down, Howie, to talk to the leaders in the agency, to hear from the mayor on the ground, to talk to the ranchers so that we have the facts. And the facts are this needs attention from Washington, D.C. The measure of humane policy is humane results. And 13,000 children in custody is not humane.
Governor, let me
we could have gone anywhere on our southern border. We could have gone anywhere across the southern border, whether it was California, Arizona, New Mexico, or Texas. This is not the only state on the southern border that's experiencing this, and Douglas is as good a place as any in Arizona to see what's happening here. Also to see what was done with the previous administration, the miles and miles of physical barrier and wall that has been set up and has certainly been helpful, but where there's a wide open area of the wall and the technology has not been set up so that the boots on the ground and law enforcement and Department of Public Safety are never notified. I mean, State Route 2 in Mexico is a stone's throw away from the fence, a stone's throw away from the Black Hawk helicopter. And where the fence has been stopped building, where the wall was stopped, you can get right out of a vehicle and walk right into this country.
Lita with the Herald.
Hi, Governor. The 14,000 children that you mentioned, is this along the entire southwest border, and since when have we gotten up to that number?
Well, we are updated on the number weekly. That is this month's number of children, and it's across the entire agency, and it's the amount of children has broken a historical record. We remember this is not the first time that we have talked about children in custody.
Lisa with Arizona Public Media.
Hi, Governor. You said that you're here down to talk about what's going on at the border with migrants, with ranchers, and with law enforcement. Why are you also not speaking with people who are working directly with migrants or even with migrants themselves?
Well, I talk with people that work in our NGOs all the time. It's another part of the reason that we're here. In addition to more resources that we need from the federal government and better communication with our neighbor and partner to the south. Mexico is Arizona's #1 trading partner. Our NGOs are simply not prepared to be helpful in this crisis and the current situation.
Have you met with them to ask what they need?
We met with officials in the agency yesterday at the state capitol.
Craig with Kagan.
Governor, on a different matter of public safety, we've been hearing that FEMA is prepared to assist Pima County with vaccinations of endangered communities and so on, that they're ready to go and they need your request or your okay, and for whatever reason it hasn't happened. Have you been asked to do that?
Well, I met with FEMA yesterday, and or it was the day before yesterday. And in addition to the resources that we need for more support for the Department of Public Safety and the Border Strike Force, and we need to plus up what's happening with the border agents as well, and the communication, we need COVID testing. We want COVID testing. These children and migrants are coming across the border. Many of them, of course, are testing positive. Until very recently, they've been cohorted together. They've been transported together, and they've been spreading the virus. We know how hard we've worked in Arizona and how good our numbers are today. The administration, with these wrong-headed policies, also needs to be supportive with additional COVID testing. If they haven't already gotten the message, consider that the message.
We're talking about vaccinations for existing residents.
Well, anyone that's in the state, there's vaccination available for. That's been the case the entire time.
Thank you. Governor Ducey, when Senator Rick Scott, you mentioned legal migration. We have hundreds of families with active MPP cases waiting to present their asylum cases in Nogales, Sonora. The MPP policy has been eliminated weeks ago. Why haven't those folks who have been waiting for their asylum case to be processed yet?
Well, look, I came down here to learn more, but my goal is to speed everything up. First off, it starts though, you have to have a secure border. You can't do anything if you don't have a secure border, because all you're doing is making the problem worse. So as I met with Border Patrol, I said, what resources do you need? And I'll go back and see what I can do. I'm on the Homeland Security Committee. Where I know everybody I know on there is absolutely committed to making sure we do the right thing. And so I'm going to go back and make sure that we know everything they need. And I've told them, here's my cell, call me and tell me what you need.
And to give further color to that answer, those requests should be heard. So where are the resources for them to be heard? There was a policy, the Migrant Protection Protocol, that actually disincentivized this dangerous journey. That's changed, along with the 100-day delay on deportations. Again, further incentives for people to make this dangerous journey, and it's the drug cartels that are taking advantage of it.
Let's go to
open for them. So why do you continue saying it's open when it hasn't been, at least not for them?
I'm sharing with you the record number of illegal migrations that are happening in our state. They're happening across an open border. It's an accurate statement.
You can look at the border, you can see the fences are open.
Oh, and I go to you after. The border is not open then, at least not for those asylum seekers. So why are we?
Well, we're going to have somebody take you for a little. We're going to have someone take you for a drive, and they're going to show you. They're going to show you that the border is wide open.
We've been asking for
Where the wall was.
when are we going to get access to see the children? And the
Well, hey, that's a question. That's a question for the Biden administration. We're not stopping you from observing this. I mean, you're here with the Capitol Press Corps. You can see whatever you want.
I can see the wall that I've seen already for like many years. That's what I'm seeing.
Well, isn't that a question?
Seeing what really is going on in our border. So if you're saying, you know, that we have an issue, so then what do we do with the children?
This.
Saying we should expel them too?
That's not what I said. I said we need additional resources, and the number of 13,000 plus children, that's the federal government's number. That's the Biden administration's number. That's not the state of Arizona's number. This is the data that we're being given from the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah, but as a government, it's supposed to bring solutions. So what's the solution then?
Well, this was largely
They're going to continue showing up.
this.
Since 2014.
We weren't down here a year ago. This was largely solved. The border. Can I finish? Can I finish the answer? Okay. There was a solution, and this was largely solved a year ago. We haven't talked about the border for some time. We're having record-breaking border crossings at this time. The system is broken. Joe Biden has broken our border.
Lily, let's go to some of your colleagues, please. Let's go to Valeria with Telemundo, please.
They're being housed. They're being housed. They can be housed for 72 hours, and then after that, this is the policy of the federal government. They must be released, and that's where the NGOs come into place to be helpful. They don't have resources.
By the way, why doesn't the federal government allow you guys to go, like us, we can't go see what's happening to the children. We all want to make sure the children are taken care of, but what's ridiculous is why would the Biden administration create a policy where people are bringing their children here in a very dangerous journey, unaccompanied? It makes no sense, and it's all caused by Joe Biden. But you guys can't go see what they're doing at all, have you? Have you been able to go to any places where they have children? No.
Yeah, we've been asking for access.
Right, because and it's the Biden administration doing that.
My question is for you.
Lily, you've had enough
talk in
questions.
Spanish, and a lot of our viewers do speak Spanish. Can I speak to the Senator of Florida? So, you know, you've been here for how many hours a day?
I got here yesterday.
So do you think it's enough time for you to learn what really is going on here in Arizona?
Oh, you try to learn as much as you can, but you always like to spend more time.
So what did you learn?
Well, here's what I've learned. I've talked to Border Patrol. I've talked to Air and Marine, and I've said, what do you need? All right, give me the numbers. What do you need? So my goal is to go back. I'm on Homeland Security, and I go back and say, I've been to the border, and there's other senators doing the same thing. Senator Rob Portman is over in Texas today. I know Senator Cornyn and Cruz with I think 16 other senators are going next week. I think Lindsey Graham's been to the border. We're all trying to find out what are the needs. And we're also trying to make sure the federal government does what they said they're going to do. You can't. The federal government made commitments to build the wall. I've asked the General Accounting Office, how can the Biden administration, poof, like that, say we're not going to do it? You can't do that. Once that money is appropriated, it has to be spent on what it was supposed to be spent on.
Okay, now let's go to Valeria with Telemundo,
En
please.
español no ha contestado. En español, senador. En el tiempo que has
Can we go
estado
to
aquí en
Valeria?
Yeah,
Arizona,
let's just go to Valeria, please.
going on. So only you get to speak Spanish and not me ask questions in Spanish? I think the
Lily,
Spanish viewers also need that.
We've got a lot of folks here from the press corps.
Going on regarding to the additional resources, we're talking about additional resources and keeping the migrants safe. But please tell us, what are those additional resources? Because the Democrats, and I'm saying the Democrats because this COVID relief package was passed in a partisan way, does include $110 million for FEMA to be given to these nonprofit organizations, something that didn't happen in the past administration.
Well, first off, the bill they passed did not have Republicans. Not one Republican in the Senate voted for it. All right, we went to the White House and said, just like all the bills we did last year, we did 5 COVID bills last year, they were all done on a bipartisan basis with a significant majority of senators voting for it. This bill, the Democrats said they had no interest in us participating in it at all. It has very little to do with COVID. 9% of this bill had anything to do with COVID. 1% had anything to do with vaccine. My goal is to make sure we spend the money to solve the problem we have. We have a COVID problem and we have a crisis on the border. We ought to be spending our money to solve the problems. Right now, the Biden administration is not focused on that.
So my question is, what additional resources would you want to see here in Arizona to deal with this crisis?
Well, the governor, I'll give you my answer, what I've learned so far. First off, you've got to continue to finish the wall. You've got to finish the technology. You've got to make sure, and then you're going to need more agents. On top of that, you might need facilities. Now, hopefully you wouldn't need facilities if we had a secure border. We don't have a secure border right now. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to continue to listen, and other senators are doing the same thing, going to the border in Texas, saying, what are the needs, and we'll see what we can do to be helpful. But it starts with securing the border. Here's what doesn't make sense. This all started with Joe Biden. I mean, his amnesty plan makes no sense at all. We're a nation of laws. Follow the law.
And then, Governor, my second question is, did you invite Senator Sinema or Senator Kelly to tour the border with you?
They're welcome to come anytime they like.
That doesn't answer the question, Governor. Why won't you answer the question? Did you invite the two Democratic senators?
Let me make sure. I made sure that we focused on, in the COVID bill, that we focused on, let's put more money into resources for the border, all right? And the Democrat senators, 100% of them voted against that, by the way.
Governor, that wasn't the question.
They are welcome to come to the border whenever they like.
Did you invite them as opposed to this Republican show and tell?
Next question.
Hi, Governor.
They don't need an invitation.
I'd like to pivot to jobs for
Sure.
jobs that were cut due to the stopping of the border construction. What would you say to those families that are left seeking income right now that don't have a job and are maybe trying to feed their families?
Well, that's another issue that came up, is with the stoppage of construction and the installation of technology to protect Arizonans on the border. Many people have been displaced and no longer have a job. That's really an unforeseen consequence of wrong-headed policy. I would say the good news in Arizona is that our economy is booming and there are jobs available. So not only do we have an unemployment package available so that no one falls through the cracks, we have what is really the best entitlement program, and that's a job.
And I think with that follow-up, falling through the cracks is a very general, I would say with that. So for those who do fall through the cracks, how does that make you feel as a governor?
Well, nobody's going to fall through the cracks in Arizona. We've stretched and strengthened the safety net. We've been able to deliver over $13 billion of aid to 1.5 million Arizonans. No one's going to fall through the cracks. They just need to take advantage of what is put in front of them so that they don't. And again, there are jobs available.
Let's go to Arizona Public Media.
This question is for Senator Scott. You keep saying that the Biden administration solely caused this problem, that this is a man-made problem. And for the last 4 years, asylum policy has been slowly dismantled, and even during the pandemic, they've been coming to a complete and total stop. A couple years ago, there was a crisis, a totally different humanitarian crisis at the border, where children are being separated, where we still can't even find some of those children today. So please explain, why is it that the Biden administration alone, specifically in the time that he's been in office, caused this problem that you're saying?
Just look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers.
The numbers were there in 2018. They were there.
Look at the numbers. Just in the last, from January to February, we had a 28% increase in apprehensions. If you talk to Border Patrol, there's also a lot of people that they don't even catch. Look at the number of children that are coming here. That was not going on last summer. The number of children, 9,500 children apprehended just in 1 month, in the month of February. So I mean, it's pretty simple. If you just look at the numbers, you can see it was all happened when Joe Biden got elected.
Well, there were still children coming to the border, but they were being expelled, so that might be a big difference, wouldn't you say? Would you say that they should be separated or expelled?
Of course, no child ever should be separated. No child should. First off, you secure your border, okay? You have an immigration policy that works. I can tell you what, I've been in the Senate 2 years. I went to the floor of the Senate. I had every Republican senator sign off on how do you fix TPS and give TPS for Venezuelans. Twice, the Democrats blocked it. Democrats don't want to solve immigration. That's what's going on now. They don't want to solve the problem. Look at what proposal do they have to solve this problem? None.
And I just have one quick follow-up for Governor Ducey. You mentioned that you are in contact with agencies that are responsible for these apprehensions, but you didn't answer whether or not you plan to or why you don't plan to meet with humanitarian organizations that are operating.
I'm happy to.
Sorry, that are operating here in Douglas,
Yes.
in Nogales, in Yuma. Why specifically come here and not meet?
I'm happy to meet with people that can help solve this problem. What I'm, as the chief executive of Arizona's government, I'm dealing with leaders and decision makers inside our federal government so we can lessen the humanitarian need. That's where we're beginning. But yes, I'm happy to visit with them, and I want to see them have the resources necessary. But we would like to avoid the problem where possible. And the other thing I'd like to say to your question is the asylum policy has been changed, or that's the perception that it's been changed. If people need to file for asylum, there was a policy that allowed them to do that but didn't incent them to come across the border to do that. That's what's changed. That's what the cartels talk about, the marketing arm of our federal government driving this migration that's happening from the Northern Triangle, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. And the numbers are rising. We're not used to these types of reported numbers in February, which are the past month's numbers. I can only imagine what April and May will look like.
So let's work our way through the list again. Dennis? What policy are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring specifically to the Migrant Protection Protocol, but I'm also referring. Yes, I'm also referring to the incentives that have been put out there rhetorically, like free health care for all who cross the border and every other entitlement in the American toolbox.
And Governor, Senator Scott, again, I've heard a couple times saying this all happened under Biden. I mean, is that fair to him? Because again, I go back to the numbers. The numbers were increasing from April under the Trump administration. How can you blame it all on Biden?
Dennis, I want to say that as an Arizonan, the border is always an issue. In 2014, it was a state issue. In 2016, it became a national issue. And the issues at the border were largely solved. Nobody ever said they went away, but they were largely solved. Now they are in crisis and historic territory. We need attention, and it is a cause of the change in these policies out of Washington, D.C.
Let's go to Craig.
Governor, as Governor, what sort of assistance can you give to places like Tucson and Phoenix that are concerned about influxes of migrants that may end up being housed there?
Well, we share the concern, and it's part of the ask that we have with the administration for additional resources for COVID testing and more resources there. And the best thing they can do is clearly communicate to stop making the dangerous journey. I mean, Craig, we've been here before as a state. We just haven't been here for several years.
Maria. Let's go to Valeria.
Quick question to Senator Scott, please. From what I understand, you're saying Democrats are not doing much, or you don't agree with the actions they're taking, but there's right now various bills that would get the immigration reform that's due for over 40 years. One is the U.S Citizenship Act of 2021, which includes more money for the border, more money for border security. There's another one, the Dream and Promise Act, that passed yesterday that would give Dreamers, TPS, and also farm workers, which is another bill, a pathway to be here legally, and we know they are helping our economy. That one already passed and it's going to the Senate. Would you vote in favor of it, and are you in favor of the U.S. Citizenship Act?
So first off, I've been up there 2 years. My experience is the Democrats don't want to do anything. They pass bills that then will never pass the Senate. I'll just give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I proposed $20 billion for border security. It got voted down. I proposed more money for border security in Arizona. Democrats 100% voted against it. So they don't have an interest. In my case, I want to do border security, and I've had proposals before, and I'm coming out with another proposal: how you take care of the DACA recipients. And so I'm going to continue to fight for immigration reform, but it's never going to happen if we don't have a secure border. It's not going to happen.
But Senator, they are passing or presenting and passing bills that
If and they voted against what you just said they wanted. Okay, I took an amendment to the floor of the Senate, and all 50 Democrat senators voted against it 3 times. All right, 3 times they voted against it. So I took TPS to the floor to fix that. Twice they blocked it. So they don't want to get something done. This is for them. This is all they want to leave immigration out there as an issue. They do not want to solve the problem.
But something passed yesterday. It's going to the Senate.
I'm going to look at everything that comes to us, but I can just tell you, if you don't do border security, nothing is going to happen.
The Biden administration confuses immigration with border security. These are separate issues. This is a border security issue. That's step 1. Then we can talk immigration.
So you want 2 separate bills, not something together?
Listen, that's Washington, D.C. and the United States Congress. We have an issue on the border that can be solved. They've been kicking the can down the road on immigration reform for years and years.
Governor, you said right before,
Howie, we're going to go through the list one more time,
at
please.
the border were largely solved under Trump. How were they largely solved when we had children in cages?
Howie, there was a change in policy, and the situation that you're referring to was reported the way you wanted to put the narrative. We've got the same situation right now under this current president. President Trump did change policy. President Trump did change how people applied for asylum. President Trump also got the attention of President Lopez Obrador. We all recall in Arizona when there was talk of a potential border closure, which didn't happen. There was also talk about a potential 5% tariff on imports from Mexico, which did not happen. But all of a sudden, there was attention from the Mexican federal government, and there was a reinforcement on Mexico's southern border, which stopped, or we would say slowed, to a trickle, the migration that today we're experiencing.
Okay, we have a question from the Sierra Vista Herald for Sheriff Daniels and Gail Griffin.
Come on down.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Sheriff. Hi, Gail. I just wanted to get your take on what you saw today.
Well, let me start off and thank you all for coming to Cochise County, and thanks for the governor and Senator Scott and all the leadership in the back of the room. I'll just say something that is obvious when I listen to you speak. It's not about politics, folks. It's truly not about politics. It's about public safety, national security, humanitarian, and a global health pandemic that we're addressing here in a rural county. And along with my fellow sheriffs on the southwest border, we see the tragedy in 2019, like the governor was saying. By the way, one of the reasons I think they picked this county, besides the Border Strike Force that we work very close with the governor with and our federal partners, is the fact that Tucson sectors is the second busiest area on the southwest border, excluding the Rio Grande in Texas. We work very close to our federal partners and leadership in keeping the stats up to where we're at and what we're doing down here. But what worries me, I'll just say this to you, thank you, Leader, for the question. In 2019, into 2018, when the surge kicked up, the caravan kicked up, just to give you a couple of stats, we had 141 countries breach our southwest border. We had over 1,000 gang members from 20 different countries breach our southwest border. We had 281 deaths on the southwest border. We had, this is what I worry about when it comes to the dangerous journey they make. We had 3,500 children exploited by the cartels in the human sector alone that brought down a lot of people. And we protected those 3,500 children, working with locals, sheriffs, and federal partners. We had 6,100 fraud families. When the governor and Senator Scott talk about legal, I'm all about legal, I'm all about processing. And I'll say this one last thing. Last year at this time, in my virtual system, which runs about 700 cameras along the southwest border in Cochise County into New Mexico, we had 300 to 400 last year. In August, it went to 1,200. In December, it went to 2,500, and we're off the charts again. We went 20 months without drugs in my county, thanks to my county attorney, because we have a 100% conviction rate for drug smugglers. Folks, it's all about public safety, national security, humanitarian, and now a global pandemic. Thank you.
We've been working on these issues forever, at least 25 years that I've been. I testified in Senator Kyle's subcommittee on immigration. We are talking about 2 separate issues. Border security and the safety of the American citizens, or the people living on this side of the border. Immigration is another issue. It's like if you have a leaky pipe, you turn off the water before you can fix it. We have to secure the border before we talk about improving additional immigration issues. I have people that have texted me and sent me messages that live right in the canyons. They live in fear. They have people in their backyard. Years ago, I had 50 or 60 individuals in my backyard, every one of them with a 50-pound bundle of pot on their back. And the spotter in the front has an AK-47 and the spotter in the back has an AK-47. And I'll tell you, it's a hell of a way for American citizens to have to live. We need to secure the border, take care of the people that are here. Arizona, America first, and then we can help others. We are a compassionate country. Arizona has spent millions of dollars to help people in distress. We need to improve, come in, and again, the governor said, we support legal immigration. We want you to come in the front way, not sneaking in the back way.
Gail, one more question. I know at your level, I know you've been talking about it for many years. At your level, what can you do? What can be done at your level?
We have to get the message to Congress. I attended the meeting in Wilcox where the mayor in Wilcox was really upset. Some of the testimony at that meeting, 70% of the community is on subsidies, food stamps and such. They don't know what to do with it. And we were told that the order is pick them up, drop them off at the bus station or the park. How would you like to have 50 or 60 people in your backyard? I saw a segment on the mayor from Gila Bend. He's beside himself. He says, we don't have the money to take care of these people. It's inhumane to invite them here when we can't take care of them. We're not taking care of our own. It is what comes in our backyard. And you say that the border is open, it's not secure. You look 5 miles outside of any town, and they're coming in. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they're bringing in. We have no idea.
Gail, let me ask a question, because I live.
And you be nice.
I'll be nice to you. I know. I lived in Bisbee. I know what it was like down in Bisbee Junction and everything else. And I'm talking about the 70s. So I saw what was coming through. You can honestly tell me that now is worse than it was in the 70s and in the 80s?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not, who are they? 140 countries, I understand, is coming in. What do we do?